Hello there, everyone. How are you all doing? Today, I'm back with another ranking video, and today I decided I wanted to do something a little different. Today we are going to be ranking 50 players from the 2010s. Now, the 2010s was probably one of the best decades in basketball history, and I feel like a lot of people would agree with that. I feel like the talent overall was maybe at the highest at this point throughout NBA history. Um, there were a bunch of, I'm sure, classic names that I'm sure a lot of us are going to remember, going on down the line. And we're just going to be ranking every single one of these players based off of how well they did within the decade, respectively. I won't be judging them based off of what they did in the 2000s, and I won't be judging them based off of what they did in the 2020s if they made it that far. And so, we're just going to get right into it. I'll pull up stats and everything for some of the key guys. I don't want to take too long on some of the players because some of them are just kind of self-explanatory. So, yeah, let's get to it. First guy up here, we have LaMarcus Aldridge. I'm just going to go over LaMarcus Aldridge. Just for, the sake of getting a gist on everything. So if we look here in the 2010s, we'll say it starts from 2010-11, ends in 1920. As you can see, he was pretty consistent during the course of the decade. All in all, field goal percentage was pretty solid most of the time. Towards the end of the decade, he actually became a bit of a three-point shooter, which was a cool turnaround. If you look here, he made, I believe that's 6 All-Star teams, 4 All-NBA nods, and he even placed an MVP and DPOY candidacy at some point. Just all around, LaMarcus Aldridge is a great player. He was great even up until he retired, but we're not at that point. Just looking at his stats alone, he played Portland and San Antonio, and was just really efficient, really good, played good defense, put up shots, was a mid-range demon, and was kind of the stable guy for most of the decade for Portland and San Antonio. So with that being said, I feel like the B tier is a good spot to put him. 5 All-Star teams is obviously nothing to scoff at. But, no championship during this time. And overall, he's not who you would consider one of the most impactful players of the decade. So he'll go there. Next up is Giannis. I'm going to put Giannis in... I feel like Giannis in the A tier is fair. Retrospective to how he did during the decade, obviously he was drafted in 2013, so he's not going to have, as many accolades necessarily or as many points. But what he did do is win back-to-back MVP. He made 2 all-defensive first teams. He even won a DPOY at one point. He's made, I think, 4 All-NBA teams. He won Most Improved Player. All in all, just a dominant player and definitely ushered in that new era of basketball for a lot of fans. And so he'll go there. Next up is Carmelo Anthony. All in all, as a player in the 2010s, I'd probably put him in the A tier. I feel like the reason why that's fair is just because he didn't win a ton while he was in the decade. If we pull up kind of the teams that he was on here, obviously he started off the decade with the Nuggets, and then he actually got traded to the Knicks halfway through the 2010-11 season. Made an all-star team, I believe, 6 times. Made 4 All-NBA teams, I think. And was just one of the best shooters of the decade. If you just look at this stretch right here of 2011 all the way to like 2015-16, just insane stat lines, really decent efficiency as a forward. Although his teams didn't necessarily see the most success, all in all, as an individual player with individual stats, he was incredibly good. And influence-wise as well, I feel like it just makes sense to put him there. Next up, Bradley Beal. Didn't really do a ton in the decade. He got drafted in 2012. Played a few playoff series. Made a few all-star games. All-NBA team, maybe once or twice. Just not one of the most impactful players of the decade. DeMarcus is also going to go in the B tier because his career both started and ended in the 2010s, which was surprising because he was drafted in 2010. All things considered, he had a really good stretch to start the decade. After he got traded to the Pelicans, started to tail a little bit, and then he joined the Warriors to kind of ring chase, and that didn't work out. Definitely was really dominant. If he kept on the pace that he had towards the early 2010s, I feel like he easily would have been A or maybe even an S tier. But where he was at towards probably 2018, 2017, I feel like B tier makes sense. Next up is Chris Bosh. As a player in the 2010s, I'm going to put him in B tier, but he's going to be towards the top here. Obviously, he was part of that Heatles squad, and that's really what puts him in the spot. But kind of after the Heatles ended, he really didn't make much impact across the league for the rest of the decade and ended up retiring relatively early in terms of the rest of, the players that were drafted in his draft class. So I feel like the B tier just makes the most sense. So we'll put him there. Next up is Kobe. Kobe we'll put in B tier as well. Which might shock a lot of people, but I mean, this isn't really a surprise that Kobe's prime was not in the 2010s. It was in the 2000s. And he ended up retiring halfway through the 2010s anyways. So didn't really have enough all-star teams, didn't really have enough all-NBA teams. He did win a chip in 2010, which good for him. But all in all, I feel like this just makes the most sense. Just kind of based off of how we're, pacing it. But obviously, if this was, not just the 2010s, he'd go in S tier. Next up is Jimmy. I think I'll put him in the C tier. He didn't make a ton of impact during the 2010s. He did end up going to Miami. He was in Philly for a little bit and had high impact roles there. But most of his career in the 2010s was spent with the Bulls, and he didn't really do too much. He got traded to the Wolves, didn't really do a ton there. And then it was kind of just bouncing around. He made a few all-star teams, probably an all-NBA team here and there. Maybe an all-defensive team too. But not really enough to kind of separate him. Actually, I think I'm going to put Beal down there with him. Just because I feel like it doesn't make a lot of sense not to have him in the same tier. So, Mike Conley, also going to go in the C tier. High impact player for sure. Obviously still plays now and is the only player from his draft class still playing, which good for him. But all in all, during the 2010s, he was Grizzly, he was a Jazz, and he was very solid for those, Grizzlies teams, but he never, made any all-star game or, all-NBA squad. So I feel like C tier makes sense. He was just high caliber guy, but not necessarily an all-star type of guy. Next up here, we have Steph Curry. I don't even really need to say too much. S tier. 3 rings. Went back-to-back. Just a unanimous MVP. Just one of the best players of all time. One of the best shooters of all time. Not really much else to say there. AD, I think I'm going to put in A tier too. Obviously a little injury prone. At the end of the decade, technically, because I'm counting the 2019-20 season, he did win a ring towards the end of the decade with LeBron. And so with that, he kind of, puts himself above the rest. But in all stats, accolades, the A tier just makes sense. DeMar, I'm going to put DeMar in the B tier. DeMar's a little strange to me because as a player, he's not necessarily like, I don't know. He doesn't ring to me as a true star through and through during the decade. Although in 2017 he had a crazy season, 2018 too, but he only ended up making about 4 All-Star teams during the decade, and All-NBA 2 times. Just really wasn't necessarily one of the most impactful players when it came to winning. And so I feel like that's why I got to put him there. Andre Drummond, he'll go in C tier. Obviously had some crazy rebounding seasons with the Pistons. But all in all, didn't put up a crazy amount of impact. Just not really a guy that you think of when it comes to the 2010s. But obviously he had like a 4-year stretch there in Detroit when, he was best rebounder in the league, and he made a few All-NBA teams or an All-Star team or an All-Defensive, but just not really a ton of accolades to show for his high rebounding caliber. So C tier makes the most sense to me. Duncan we'll put in the bottom of A tier. Obviously ended up winning a ring in 2014 with Kawhi and the rest of his squad. Not necessarily the most impactful decade. His impact definitely was in the 2000s, and that was the prime of his career. But yeah, still an A-tier guy. Was still one of the best players in the league for 3-4 years in the decade. And definitely was worth his weight. KD, S-tier. Not really much I have to say about KD. He's one of the best scorers of all time, had one of the best scoring decades of all time. I believe a 2 times finals MVP, a 1-time MVP, obviously played for the Thunder, won rings with the Warriors, which, as controversial as you want to call that, he still won 2 rings. There's not really much you can say about him. And then ended the decade with the Nets. All in all, just, really top of the line player. One of the best players of all time there. And yeah. Next up, Dwight Howard. We're going to put Dwight Howard in the C tier. He's not necessarily someone you think of in the 2010s, because by the 2010s, he was pretty washed. Especially towards the mid-2010s. It's kind of a surprise he managed to hover around as long as he did, but by this point in his career, he was kind of washed. So all in all, C tier makes sense. Joel, I'll put him in C tier. I feel like it's not fair to put him above the rest of the guys, because his prime was definitely in the 2020s. He might have made an all-rookie team, maybe an all-NBA team, all-defensive, something like that. But when you look back on the 2010s, I'm sure you're not thinking about Joel Embiid. So we'll put him in the C tier. Marc Gasol, honestly, probably had more impact for the squads that he was on than his brother during the 2010s. So we'll put him on the B tier. Obviously, won a ring with Toronto. Made a few all-defensive teams and all-star teams. Maybe even won a DPOY or 2. Just a really good player all around. His brother is going to go in B tier too, but he's going to go on the lower end. Won a ring to start off the decade, and then just kind of hovered around the league for like another 6 years, just racking up points. Not necessarily a ton of accolades, but winning a ring definitely helps. So yeah, we'll put him in B tier with his brother. Paul George, I don't think you can tell the story of the 2010s without Paul George, and you can't even tell the story of the 2020s without Paul George. Just based off of the trades alone. But trades aside, high impact guy. Obviously one of the best small forwards in the decade. And all in all, I think he's going to be remembered as one of the core guys in the 2010s. Especially because he was drafted at the start of the decade as well. So yeah, we'll put him in A tier. Next up, Rudy Gobert. for now, we'll put him in B tier. I just want to check what he did during the decade because I don't know if he won any depoys yet. Oh, no, he definitely won some depoys in the 2010s. All right. Yeah, he won 2 depoys, made All-NBA and all defensive teams. A couple All-Star nods. Yeah, I mean, one of the best defensive players of all time. Definitely should be in B tier. Probably above. I think I could argue him above Boogie, and that's probably it. So yeah, we'll put him in B tier. Draymond. Can't tell the story of the NBA without Draymond. He'll go in A tier. Just one of the best all-around players of all time. Blake, Lob City alone puts him in A tier. But even then, he had a bit of a career revitalization with the Pistons. If we look at, his career, in totality, if we look at that like 2018-2019 team, that he was on, he really elevated his play style. Because obviously there were some years here where he got really hurt, or just wasn't the same caliber player. But he really picked it back up this year by becoming a 3-point shooter, which was a very impressive turnaround for him. And it kind of caused him to last in the league for another 2 to 3 years. So Blake Griffin, can't tell the story of the 2010s without him. He'll go in A tier just based off of the impact alone. James Harden is going to go into S tier. I don't think I really have to argue on why James Harden is in S tier. 36 points a game for a whole season is absolutely absurd. One of the highest volume scorers of all time. And one of the best all-around players of all time on the offensive side of the ball. Just insane talent, insane peak. No one could guard him for a good 3 years. So, S tier. Gordon Hayward, we'll put him in C tier. Really cool player. Not a ton of accolades or anything. All in all, he was okay. Obviously, that leg injury kind of derailed his career in a very large way. And it's not necessarily any fault of his own. But always a solid player. Always doing the right thing on the court. And yeah, I mean, C tier makes sense to me. Al Horford, he had his moments during the decade. C tier, I think, makes the most sense to me. Just because he never necessarily had his own team. He was always like, 2, 3, or even a role player at certain points in the decade. But all in all, I mean, he was really good at what he did. And he didn't necessarily have to change his play style for anybody or anything, which I think is really respectable, all things considered. So yeah, we'll put him in the C tier. Is that Luke Mbamute? Do I not know ball? I'm going to be extremely honest with you all. I have no idea who this is. Maybe I just don't know ball, but I've been trying to figure it out for like 5 minutes now. I have no idea. So we're just going to put him here for now, I guess. I'm just going to say I don't know who you are. Feel free to let me know who this is. I've looked all around. I have no idea. So we'll just put him there for now. Next up, Kyrie. Can't tell a story about the 2010s without having Kyrie in there. Obviously, one of the best players of the 2010s. Won a chip with Cleveland in 2016. Was Rookie of the Year, I believe, in 2011. And I mean, just an absolute dog. Went to Boston for a little bit, had a little bit of success there, and then left for the Nets. Just all around one of the best players of the 2010. You can't tell the story of 2016 without him. And so for that alone, he'll go in S tier. Next up, Jokic. This is like a baby Jokic kind of. He'll go in A tier just because his impact towards the end of the decade was really high. He didn't end up winning in any MVPs until about 2015 or 2021. Sorry, I don't know why I said 2015. 2021 probably. But you can kind of see towards the end of the decade, he's starting to round himself into form a little bit. 2 All-Stars, 2 All-NBA selections. Was third in Rookie of the Year in 2016. Maybe actually I'll put him down in B tier. I feel like that's a little more fair. And actually, I might move Jimmy up because I think Jimmy had more of an impact during the decade than Jokic did. But I feel like that's extremely fair. DeAndre Jordan now. We'll put him in C tier. Again, Lob City. Can never forget Lob City. Obviously had like a really high impact on, the culture of basketball and the Clippers team as an organization. Just not really a guy you can forget. LeBron, S tier. Come on. Kawhi, also S tier, won 2 rings for 2 different teams during the course of a 5-year span. Extremely impressive, especially in a time that was so dominated by the Cavs and the Warriors. Far and away one of the best players of the 2010s. Dame, same thing. Can't tell a story of the 2010s without Damian Lillard. All the game-winning playoff shots and 3-point records he broke, and all the All-Star and All-NBA selections he made. Can't not have Dame on that list. I'm going to put Kevin Love in the A tier, actually. He was a good number 2 to LeBron during the course of their tenure in Cleveland. Ended up staying in Cleveland, and then obviously to start the decade was in Minnesota, and was one of the best young players in the league there. So all around, I think Kevin Love has to go in the A tier. Going in the B tier, we'll put Kyle Lowry. All around a really solid player, but nothing really, that necessarily stands out in terms of, stats or accolades. But won a ring with Toronto and with Kawhi. Was a part of one of the most competitive teams during the course of the decade out east, and all around was just an all around top of the line caliber guy. So we'll put him in B tier. Next up, we have Paul Millsap. He's gonna go in the C tier. Paul Millsap is kind of just a whatever guy, really. I mean, everybody kind of remembers Paul Millsap, but I don't think anybody remembers Paul Millsap, if that makes sense. But he's a good player. Not really any crazy impact on basketball, though. Dirk, for that 2011 run alone, goes in the A tier, although the prime of his career was definitely in the 2000s. Still had a great 2010s, got his ring, managed to play for another 8 years after. And mentored Luka towards the end of the year, or the end of the decade. So I think A tier makes all the sense. Oladipo, he'll go in the C tier. He was a good player for a little bit there. But injuries obviously derailed the prime of what seemed to be a really promising guard in the league. It's just really unfortunate, but it happens, and we'll see at least 2 to 3 more examples on this list. But it was a big part of Indiana coming back into relevancy. Not right now. At the end of the month. I'm not leaving the house, Kate. I'm staying in the house.
But you're going to leave for 1 day.
No.
That's how are you going to college?
I'm going to college for 5 years. And I'm staying in the house the whole time. But anyways, Oladipo, really good player. Unfortunate, injuries. Tony Parker up next. I'll put Tony Parker in B tier. Again, prime was in the 2000s, but still had a really good 2010s. Won that ring with Kawhi and Duncan in 2014. All around, just a really impactful player. And I don't really think there's much more I can say. Chris Paul, point guard, gonna go in S tier. Really good 2010s, even though he didn't end up winning a ring or anything. Had high impact on like 4 or 5 different teams during the course of the decade, including Lob City, Houston, Lob City, Houston, New Orleans when he was there for a little bit. And yeah, I mean, just a high impact guy. Can't really say much more than that. Next up, Paul Pierce. In terms of the 2010s, he's going to go in C tier. Just really didn't do all too much during the 2010s to really warrant him being higher. If this was the 2000s, he'd go probably in the B or the A tier. But this is just the 2010s. Obviously, was a part of that Brooklyn Nets trade that sent the picks for Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum to Boston. So I'm sure Boston fans are thrilled about that. But didn't really do a ton with the Nets, and then just kind of bounced around the league for the last couple of years of his career. So yeah. Next up, Rajon Rondo. He's going to go in C tier as well. If this was 2000s, 2010s, or just even all around, maybe I'd put him in like B. But his 2010s and 2000s were just mediocre. He was kind of like Mike Conley in a lot of ways, but just maybe like slightly higher potential. So maybe for that reason alone, he'll kind of go like right here. But all in all, impactful player for sure. I don't want to discredit him at all. But obviously was not one of the premier guys during the decade. So he'll go in C tier. Next up, Derrick Rose. He'll go in B. Injury obviously derailed his career. But won an MVP. Led the Bulls to the most successful seasons they've had since Michael Jordan. So obviously for that, you got to be really thankful. But all in all, in terms of, accolades and all that, B tier just makes the most sense. Isaiah Thomas, he's going to go in C tier, but IT, man. Let me show you all that little stretch he had. If you don't know about Isaiah Thomas, then you're going to learn right now. Taking a look at this like 2 to 3 year span he had here, 19 points, made 2 all-star teams, all NBA, and was an MVP candidate for a little bit there. Injury really derailed his career, which is really unfortunate. But all in all, I thought he was just a really solid player. So I think all around C tier makes the most sense. But he was really good. Clay, one of the best shooters of all time, S tier. Don't think I really have to talk about that very much. Cat, we'll put Cat in B tier. Cat, he's gonna go in the B tier. Obviously, really good player. Won Rookie of the Year in 2015. But obviously, most of his impact has been in the 2020s. But yeah, had a really good decade. 2 All-Star teams, 1 All-NBA, and a Rookie of the Year. Definitely nothing to scoff at. Next up, Dwayne Wade. He's going to go in the A tier. Part of that Heatles roster that won 2 rings. But he even had a few rings before that. Played until the end of the decade. Obviously bounced around a little bit, but ended up retiring a Heat. So A tier makes all the sense to me. Next up is Kemba Walker. I'm going to put Kemba in the C tier. Really good player. Just, didn't have the most crazy career. He'll probably go towards the top, though, because his 2010s were really, really good. Just wasn't kind of in the same caliber as some of the other guys above him. So I think C tier just makes the most sense. John Wall, he'll go in the B tier. Another guy who got, his career derailed by injuries. But if we look at John Wall, both post and pre-injury, there's a very stark contrast. You can kind of just see that, after that injury, he just kind of tailed. And it wasn't really any fault of his own. He just couldn't move the same way. His efficiency dropped. He couldn't play defense as well. And yeah, it was just really unfortunate. But obviously, 5 All-Star teams, second in Rookie of the Year, All-NBA team, 7th in MVP Finals, and a defensive second team. Really good player. Finally, Russ. Can't tell the story of the 2010s without Russell Westbrook. Mr. Triple-Double. The first MVP to average a triple-double since Oscar Robertson, which was incredibly impressive for the time and even now. And was just all around, a core guy in the 2020 or the 2010s. So with that being said, this is going to be my official tier list here. If you did enjoy, please leave a like and subscribe for more tier lists down the road. If you would like to see any other types of content, feel free to drop a comment and let me know. But yeah, I hope you all have a great day. See you.